So right now, before we start, I'd love for you to give me a thumbs up if your gyms are open now. Just give me a thumbs up and let me know if your gyms are open. Thanks, Sharon. Are your gyms open, Lynn? Victor? Where's your thumb up? I want to see a reaction. Good.
You're gonna get me to hit the wrong button, and I'm gonna disappear off the screen, and we won't be able to get back for 45 minutes. Come on, baby.
I doubt that, Victor.
You got me outside of my depth now. You know, mental health and chemical reaction and axons and dendrites. I can roll with that. You start telling me to hit buttons on a computer, I'm in trouble. My kids aren't around, and my tech people are not here either. So I'm not touching anything. Just say yes. All of our clubs are open. 85 clubs around the world, and they're all open.
All right, guys. So I'm going to do a quick introduction about tonight and who's with us. This is the mind-body connection and the psychology of fitness. First up, we have Lynne Brick. Lynne, raise your little hand. Beautiful Lynne is an international health and fitness presenter, consultant, and author. She has been featured in a dozen exercise videos. Is the 1990 IDEA International Instructor of the Year. She's also the co-founder of the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation and the 2020 recipient of the Global Wellness Summit, Debra Simmons, Leadership in Mental Wellness Award. Congratulations, and that's great. Thanks for being with us tonight. We have Victor Brick. Now, are you brothers and sisters? Just to make an assumption, they're not even in the same house, people at home. They're like in two different units, which I love. But anyway, Victor, they're married. Victor Brick is the co-founder, CEO of the Planet Fitness Growth Partners, which owns and operates 80 health clubs in the United States and Australia. He is the founder of the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation, whose mission is to change the way that the world treats mental health. So we're very lucky to have both of them with us. And then, definitely not least, we have our Gretchen Geek, and she is a highly experienced fitness instructor, educator, and presenter. Her experience with various populations and their needs for more than just fitness lead her to create the MIMO or MIMO? MIMO method. This virtual wellness platform supports clients as they learn to reframe their thoughts around food, activity, and body image. And what I love about all this topic tonight is this: with the pandemic and what we've gone through, tonight is more important than ever because we're feeling the afterglow of all this. And before we start, we were talking, and Victor and Lynne had said something. It's a beautiful word, and it's a new practice, or it's a new, I guess, theory of what you guys are doing in the facilities. But go ahead and explain a little bit more for them, if you don't mind.
So for a little background, we're John W. Brick is obviously a mental health foundation. So one of our focuses is, personally, of course, is mental health. And the two things that affect mental health the most are connectivity and coping skills. And on the reverse side, that hurt mental health the most, or work against mental health the most, are loneliness and lack of coping skills. And COVID, of course, has exacerbated or increased the concept of the loneliness condition. 25% of Americans say they do not have one single close friend. Can you imagine that? And all of a sudden, COVID, they're telling people stay inside, wear masks, stay away from people, stay 6 feet. And so we realized that we had to work extra hard on connectivity and seeing people. And one of our general managers at a Zoom staff meeting brought up this concept of Salbono. Salbono is a Zulu word, it's a Zulu greeting, and it means I see you. And the response back is Yebo Salbono. And Yebo is yes, and Salbono is we see you too. And the seeing you is that we see your heart. We see your pain, we see your sorrow, we see you as a person. And the yes, we see you too. The yes, we is your ancestors, the people that have shaped your life, that you carry around with you, your life experiences. So it is really this exchange of we see you too. So we have started this concept of Salbono in our organization, and we're actually developing it as a incentive program and all kinds of activities around it. But
basically integrating it into our corporate culture.
Correct.
And what I love about, and the reason I'm going to kind of start that off with it, just because like they were saying with wearing a mask, we weren't really seeing each other, or that we were not just acknowledging, and when we were taking so many things away, And so I just thought it was a beautiful word, and it was a new word to me, and I think you as well, Gretchen, right? So it was just something I wanted to share with
Yeah,
you.
and there's a TED Talk you can go see. As I said, it's Zulu origins, and there's a Zulu leader from South Africa that gave the TED Talk. It's phenomenal. It's just really heart-wrenching and very, very moving.
Before we kind of start answering the questions, after the pandemic, the gyms were opening, and we were all kind of experiencing the gyms opening. But I think a lot of us are finding that people are coming to the gyms and they have a different mentality of what their expectations are of it. And I want to kind of, I guess, ask what you're seeing, guys, in your field, and how are you meeting their needs? So I'd like to start with you, Lynne.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is that we see a lot of fear still existing, even though in some states there's no mask mandate at all, it's optional. And other states, the mask must be worn when people are working out in the gym. So, you know, it varies, and it all depends on what the mandates are and what they dictate. But fear, as we all know, it can be very paralyzing for the mind and mental health, as well as the physical body. And what's also conversely, though, I think that a lot of people have expanded their experiences. They're more willing to work out outside for fitness classes and even do outdoor biking through the winter. You know, they wanted to get their workout in, so they would do whatever it takes and expand their experience. So it's become much more open to experience new experiences as well.
I love that. I love the question. What are you seeing a difference with your clients that you're doing on the virtual trainings with and stuff?
Yeah, so you know, before the pandemic, I was working in a gym, and that just kind of evolved to something totally different, mainly because I had these two separate parts. That was Gretchen, the life coach, and then Gretchen, the fitness instructor. And what I saw with the pandemic is everyone kind of gravitated toward, and it's because, you know, Victor, you mentioned loneliness. It's because of that need to be seen. They gravitated more toward wanting that individualized coaching. They wanted someone to help them specifically. They were also a lot more open to modalities that maybe they hadn't been before. You know, Lynne, you mentioned outdoor biking and things like that. For me, I saw people coming to a restorative yoga class that were like my power yoga people before, or doing things like we have like meridian therapies or tapping. I don't know how much you're familiar with that, but they would be willing to embark on these modalities with me as a coach that before would have been just so far-fetched. So I think as they come back to the gym as instructors, we are going to have to be really aware of that, and that it's kind of fun if you like to be creative and you have that freedom, because you're going to get to do a lot more with clients, I think, because they've experienced a lot more, and conversely, they'll expect a lot more. They're going to want a lot more interaction.
I love that. Victor, is there anything you want to add to it, or?
Well, again, it kind of goes back to what both Lynne and Gretchen said. It kind of goes back to loneliness and coping skills. They want the connectivity, and they want to know, what can we do for our health and well-being? Historically, people worked out in the gym for two reasons: get bigger, get smaller. Usually the men wanted to get bigger, although that's some women now who are doing that with the CrossFit training and everything else. And the women wanted to get stronger, hence more cardio, more aerobics. Now it's for mental well-being, and it's for wellness. And they don't know how necessarily to accomplish that, but they do know it's no longer just about arm curls for the girls. How much can I bench press? The yoga move, the flipping the tires. They do know. So like Gretchen said, hey, you want to do force bathing? I never heard of it, but I'll give it a shot. Hey, we want to do tapping and meridians and qigong. I've never heard of it, but I'll give it a shot. It's got to make me feel better. There's a lot of concern in the fitness industry about what COVID's doing to the attitude of the general public and whether or not quote numbers will come back. And what I proposed, my perspective on this is that now more than ever, people realize if I don't move, I could die. If I'm not in shape, I am more likely to die. And
Right.
So they are coming for the right reason now, as opposed to appearance and ego and what they look like. So it's an opportunity for people like us that know what we're doing, can give them the coping skills.
I love that. I love that. Because we've had this gap though from our members and from our clients, a lot has happened to them that maybe we haven't been involved with, but I found in my field that a lot of younger people between the age of 20 and 30, they were struggling. They really were struggling. And even though they were maybe training and working out, but they were isolated. And a lot of them went on to drugs to help them deal with those kinds of problems and stuff. And so they're coming to us now and they're a little bit altered because of the chemicals that they're taking. And hopefully we're going to get them off of it. But Victor, you had spoken a little bit earlier. I mentioned that to you earlier. And what do you elaborate with what we were kind of talking about prior, if you don't mind?
So it kind of gets back again to the purpose of the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation, and that is to get salutogenic processes, and salutogenic means holistic and healthy lifestyle choices, integrated as an essential part of the treatment of mental health and the prevention of treatment of mental illness and the promotion of mental wellness. And up until this point, there were 3 ways to treat mental health, and almost only 3, and to a great extent it still exists, and that is psychoanalysis, medication, and institutionalization. And what you're finding is that these people that are having mild cases of depression, mild symptoms of mental instability, not mental illness, not pathogenic mental, are being prescribed medication. And of course, what does medication do? The body is a wonderful mechanism, but it's very smart. So the more you do for the body's going to say to itself, well, I don't have to do that. You start using a walker when you're walking around and taking a wheelchair when you want to get on an airplane and not walk in an airport, and you're going to atrophy. We all know that. And your mind will do the same thing. So when the medication, you start medication, oh, it's only temporary. The next thing you know, you're on it for life. And what these people should be doing is they should be sending people, these therapists and these psychologists and psychiatrists, they should be sending people to people like Gretchen and to people like the Brick clubs and say, you got to go work out and you got to this, but they don't know. Remember the coping skills I talked about? They're clueless. We, whoever's on this call, all of us know more than they do. And I can vouch for that because I've been in the halls of the best medical institutions in the United States, and they have no concept of salutogenic. They didn't even know what the word meant. You should have seen the look on their faces when Lynne and I would bring this up, that we need more salutogenic processes. And you could tell by the way they looked at us. And these are the chairman of departments at psychiatric hospitals that would, blue boilerplate, and they don't know how to treat that way.
That's lovely. So kind of like veering into that a little bit, people are coming back and one of the things is, how do we shift people's focus from, let's say, negative self-talk to positive self-talk? And Gretchen, I think I'm going to like to start off with you with that one.
Yeah, so we need to remember that we're doing exercise with people, but we're talking to them at the same time. And that's actually a modality in and of itself, where you can really affect some parts of the brain that you can't normally because they're they're doing something. And we could get all into that. It's really interesting. But what you need to know as an instructor is what comes out of your mouth is so important, because they're able to receive it. And so the biggest thing that we can do if we're in front of a group is use positive self-talk. The way we're talking about ourselves, the way we're talking about them, the way we're seeing them. If you're lucky enough to have them one-on-one, like that's something I actually do with both my group and my private clients, is we go through something I call thought training, and we look at the thought, we pull all the emotion away from it, we decide, it's neutral, and we go into reframing it. You don't have that luxury in a 60-minute, strength training class, but you do have the luxury of saying the right things or saying very neutral things, right? Things aren't going to, for instance, we don't talk about food in front of a group fitness class. We don't do that. We don't talk about the way our bottom looks when we're doing squats. I mean, you might, but it's not a good idea. So you just have a really unique opportunity that you might not even know you've had this whole time. So watching what comes out of your mouth and being really focused on that cue is important.
I love that. Lynne, I see you shaking your head. What would you like to add?
I'd love to add, I got my master's degree in health and wellness coaching, and one of my professors had said that choose your words wisely, because words are like acupuncture needles. They can be helpful or they can be harmful. So I thought that was really wise.
I love that. I love that. What about you, Victor?
Well, one of the things, the John W. Brick Foundation, I keep coming back to that, but one of the things we do is that we fund and promote programs that address salutogenic processes. So what can be done? I used to think that the way to change things was to go to the medical community, convince them that we were the answer. They'd embrace it. They'd throw up their hands. Of course you are. And they would rush to embrace us. And of course, there's nothing could be farther from the truth. It's got to be a grass up movement, a grassroots movement. So one of the programs that we fund programs, among other things. And Lenny, what's the one program we're funding in inner city, the disadvantaged communities in Baltimore?
It's the Holistic Life Foundation.
The Holistic Life Foundation. Two Baltimore City guys, played a lot of basketball with my daughter, and I coached against both of their dad. He beat the crap out of us. But they've started a program that they're introducing into the school systems in disadvantaged communities, where they go through mindfulness and meditation training, and they're trying to get these inner city kids, these disadvantaged kids, to go from thinking, I can't, I'm not smart enough, I'll never be able to I can, why not me? If he can do it, I can do it. And a lot of it is just frame of mind. You know what, what's his name said, that which the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. That which the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And that is I'm sure everybody on this call again believes in that. The law of attraction, you kind of get what you expect. It's one of the reasons why I'm so anti the way we've treated the COVID, is because you're going to get what you expect. You expect to get sick? Guess what? You're going to get sick. That's the way the universe works.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that a smile goes a long way. It's funny, just when you all smiled at me, it made me feel better. So it's amazing. Words are important, but also the way you smile and all that kind of goes hand in hand with it. I'm a firm believer. I do the Group X certification. I've been doing it for at least 5 years. And I've always told new teachers that we have got to change the verbiage of what people say in dialects. I know there's a lot of self-hatred in women with body imagery and all these things that they say. And I don't know if it's now what they feel they should say, oh, I hate my body. And my thing is always, why would you hate your body when it does so many amazing things for you? You know, or they want to lose this amount of weight and you ask them how long ago that was. And they said it was when I was in high school. And you're like, but look, you're a mom now. You have these beautiful kids. And through that journey, your body has changed and you've got the best body. And it's really about, I feel, changing the verbiage. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what we're all being saying right now. Yes, Gretchen.
So part of my platform is very much about body positivity. And sometimes I get a little hated on for that, because people say, well, not everyone can love their body every day. But I think what you said about, like, it's a new body and you don't have to. I think that's one thing that we think, oh, I can't say hate your body, so I tell everybody to love their body. And that's too far. That's too much of a stretch for the mind to go, right? So this idea of, look at what you're doing, look at where you are today, and let's just take the body off the table, I think is something so big for, especially if we have any new instructors on the call. Oh, if we could do that, that would be incredible, right?
I agree. But kind of moving into that thing, because they've been away for us for so long and they're all coming back, and I'm seeing what you're saying on the side, and we're going to address some of it, because I know some of you seem a little frustrated because your gyms aren't open yet, and they want you to come back, and I'm feeling this. I mean, we've all felt it for a year, and I want to address that. But before I get there, I want to ask our panel. So people are coming back and they have been struggling. So what are some signs that we can see that maybe they're having a little bit of body imaging, because maybe they have put on the extra pounds, or they're deconditioned? This is what we're forgetting, is they've been off of what they've been doing for a while. Sometimes when they come back, they're going to be a little deconditioned. And as teachers, we have to be kinder to them. And remember, they haven't been moving with us as they have been prior to COVID. So what are some signs, or they're having mentally a struggle? And what are some signs that you see to help indicate that maybe that's happening or going on with them? Who would like to start that one? Gretchen, want to try?
Yeah, so it's weird for me because I didn't really wait for the gyms to open back up. I just opened up another branch of my business and said, okay, here I am, and it's virtual, and so I don't see my people as much, and that's a challenge that I don't know if anyone else is doing virtual. That's a huge challenge because you don't even see them. But it does make us be more creative. You're talking about the deconditioning and maybe added weight. We have to be a little bit more creative in how we approach our classes because the people that were coming and aren't coming anymore, they were coming, they were unable to, and now they're coming back. Not only are they deconditioned, potentially gained weight, but they are going to want to start back at where they were. So we might have to do these really creative regressions or creative progressions, and just watch, if you're able to be there in person, that's great. But even if you're virtual, you have to be really creative with what you're doing in your class and how you're presenting those modifications, right? The big M on our forehead. More than ever, we're going to have to really pay attention to, again, what's coming out of our mouth about them.
Would you like, go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah, I was going to just add that it's whenever we see people struggling, we just need to be present for them, salabona them, and understand that, yeah, they can't necessarily start from where they left off. If they've taken time off, it's going to take time. So they, the little baby steps I saw someone put in the chat, absolutely, and rejoice each one of the progressions in their baby steps. Also through Planet Fitness, we have had a focus on more of a mental wellness concept, and really it's a very basic type of workout through our app that folks can enjoy. That it starts very, very slow, but it's moving their mental health in the right direction, and that's what we need to constantly encourage people to keep moving and celebrate their victories.
And Jeff, the plain fact of the matter is, this is one of the problems because, quite frankly, the majority of the fitness industry is unqualified to deal with people with mental health issues. They're not qualified to identify them. They're not qualified to talk with the individuals about them, and they are not qualified to give them the proper interventions and coping skills. There's this thing called positive stress. The Yerkes-Dodson, look up Yerkes-Dodson positive stress chart.
Then type it in for us.
Yerkes-Dodson positive stress. And the run is stress, and the rise is performance and a sense of well-being. And it's the classic bell-shaped curve. And when you get into that positive stress area, just the right amount of stress, you thrive. Your performance increases, your sense of well-being increases, your confidence increases. Too little stress, which is caused by medication, by the way, and is caused by inactivity, and caused by sitting on the couch, and caused by not practicing, caused by lifting too little weights, caused by not doing the right yoga moves, all of the above. You get no increase in performance, you get no improvement in self-esteem, no satisfaction, and too much stress. You get fear of failure, you get frustration, you get anger, you get anxiety. And there are many of us that don't really understand this Yerkes-Dodson positive stress continuum and don't know where our clients fit in. One of the goals for the John W. Brick this year is to come up with a mental wellness fitness certification. Mental wellness fitness certification, and there's none that exists. We all know how to teach a step class. We all know how to put on muscle mass. We all know how to reduce body fat. We all know how to, but do we know how to help loneliness? Do we know how to help depression? Do we know how to help mental well-being? And so it's a very complicated question, and it's very dangerous to dispense information if you really don't know. And so sometimes the best answer is either one, you do nothing because you don't know, or two, you do nothing because you realize, one of the first laws of medicine, do no harm. First Hippocratic Code, do no harm. And you think, I'm gonna get this guy out, we're gonna go running, you get to be doing harm. So be very careful about getting them out of that positive stress area.
And I love what you guys, everybody on this panel is saying exactly, what we're kind of dealing with, because you're going to come back. And I know the schedules are not full. We're all dealing with that. As teachers, we are finding it to be a struggle, and our mental health is as well a little challenge, because we've also dealt with COVID. We have also dealt with the schedules changing, our gyms laying us off. We've dealt with not getting the kudos from our members or seeing our members. And we've also, guess what, are deconditioned. I went from teaching 27 classes a week. I didn't want to come back after COVID and do 27 classes a week. I'm older now, and I just didn't want that on my body. And actually, I got out of practice with doing it. So I came back with a different mindset. I want quality of life, but I want more money for my classes than I went out. And guess what? And Victor and Lynne and even Gretchen, I bet you can kind of go into that too. You guys, there's a shortage of teachers, because with the pandemic happening, a lot of people did what Gretchen did. They went online and they found their value in their money. And so they're not coming back to clubs. And so guess what? Clubs are needing teachers. So some of you are saying people aren't offering the same amount of classes. There's other clubs that will. And guess what? There are opportunities now that are happening that have never happened before, because places like country clubs and hotels are looking for ways to bring people in. And they have outdoor pools or they have outside facilities, and they want to do boot camps. So we have to, as teachers, you have to hustle. The key word through all this is pivot. I think that everybody on this call has had to pivot and think differently. And I hate to say it, we're never going back to the way that we were. We're going to be better. We're going better. We've learned a lot of great things from what just happened, and we have to learn how to adapt. Okay, that's kind of what I see you shaking your head. And do you want to add something, or what do you think?
I'm agreeing 100%. Adaptation is really the key to survival and thriving. It's really important for all of us to adapt, to be able to adapt and pivot at a moment's notice. The thing is that I see some of the folks writing in the chat about live classes, and I totally get that and understand that. It's challenging when we used to having classes of 50, 75 people or so, and the group X studios were full, and now they're not as full, or they're completely restricted. And if there are ways for you to still connect with your students and connect with through the club or through the organization, the brand, that to just keep the momentum going, because every little step is a step in the right direction. And the more we help to be inspirational thought leaders in terms of wellness and help people to understand the salutogenic process, it's like Victor was describing, the pathogenic and salutogenic, it's a dual continuum. So the more that we help people, encourage them to incorporate more healthy lifestyle choices into their life, it will help potentially save their life too, especially mental illness.
And in answer to a lot of the comments and to your question, Jeff, your comment, I'm a basketball coach and a basketball player. I do not like the term pivot, because in basketball, pivot means you completely change direction. That's not what we should be doing. The greatness of any company is be committed to change while preserving the core. The day that Disney gets out of entertaining people, they're done. The day that Starbucks gets out of selling coffee, they're done. The day that McDonald's gets rid of selling hamburgers, they're done. And the day the fitness industry gets out of face-to-face contact, kissing babies, shaking hands, pressing flesh, instructors being able to, I hate virtual yoga, because every time I get my yoga instructor the next day, she corrects everything I was doing wrong because I was just slopping it with the virtual. It should be an adjunct. We've got to be committed to change, and virtual is here to stay. But at our core, we are a gathering place. We are a place to smile and laugh and go out for coffee. We are human beings. It's what we do. And if we start accepting the fact that on-site, in-club classes are secondary, we're in trouble. And who's going to rule? The Googles, the Apples, the online guys, much bigger than ourselves, that can dominate and proliferate. What do we have? We have ourselves and our personalities and our magic and our loyalty and our we got so many, clubs and instructors, and we have instructors leave us all the time, and good on them. And when they leave, their members go with them, and good on them, because their members are loyal to their instructors, not to Lynne Brick, not to the club, not to the brand, to the instructor. And they are the magic, and instructors are the magic. And when we start losing that, then what's the big deal? Just a couple of companies put out all the online programs, and everybody will just watch online. It'll just be a monopoly. And then we are screwed. The whole industry's screwed.
I love it. And Gretchen, you wanted to?
Yeah, well, so it's going to be a little shift now, because my thought was a couple of thoughts ago, but I think we've been talking about mental health as something that we are watching out for, and we're impacting. And I think something that, just based on the comments and based on what I'm seeing here, is we have to also safeguard our own mental health. We went through this pandemic too. There's people on here who haven't been back in class, and that's very much their calling, obviously, right? So how are they combating loneliness? How are you doing that for yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? It's not just the other people, it's us as instructors. And even pre-pandemic, we saw stuff like overuse injuries, and there is body image issues in group fitness instructors is rampant. And I've trained group fitness instructors for years. I professor at A&M teaching all of these things. It's crazy. But I think we need to also remember that too. It's not just us going out there and impacting the world. It's gotta start here. It absolutely has to.
And I just kind of want to add it. I mean, it's easier than I think people realize. It's just being aware that when the gyms are opening back up, you're going to find that the client that went 5 days a week will maybe come once or twice. And then we need to check in on them. We miss you. Why aren't you here? We have to use words like that, because it's really what they're needing right now. They're needing kindness. And you're going to find that your front row people might go to the back row a little bit more so now. Or you're going to find that they do want you to make enjoyment is the number one reason they're coming to us. Fitness is secondary. If they're having a good time, they're going to be continuous. And I'm kind of with you, Victor and Lynn and Gretchen. Like, I didn't miss a beat through COVID. I streamed, but I also taught in parking lots all over Louisville, Kentucky. And a parking space was 6 feet apart. And I'd have 65 people show up when we were allowed to, wanting to work outside. And so I'm old school. I've been in the business for 35 years, and I've only ever known to teach live classes. And so for me, having to stream was very challenging, but I had to adapt as well. So I love that. I mean, as group fitness is just that, it's group fitness. And I agree with everything we're saying. I love it. I agree. What do you guys?
Can I just add one thing, Jeff? Because
Sure.
I'm reading a lot of the comments. Guys, Lynn and I deal in a pretty big space. We're pushing 100 clubs, and we hang around guys with hundreds, 600, 900 clubs. Planet's a budget model. We're back to 90% participation. Brick Bodies is a higher end, full service model. We're still at 60%. Don't fret that you don't have all your classes yet. We are not. This isn't a switch. This is a gradual process. I'm convinced people will come back. Don't get me wrong. Virtual's here to stay. There's a lot of opportunities in a lot of different fields, but there will always be a place. That was my point, for on-site. And it will be the last to come back because of the pandemic. It's a 2-year process. If I showed you the psychological, and anybody that wants to email me this, I sit on more boards and panels and committees in mental wellness than I can shake a stick at. I will send you the Yerkes-Dodson graph. I'll send you the psychological response to crisis and disaster. And it's a 2-year process. And do you know when the recovery starts? In classic 9/11, World War II, the Great Depression. You know when the recovery starts? The 1-year anniversary. When was the 1-year anniversary? March 17th. On March 17th, we went from billing 600,000 members in 85 clubs around the world to 0 in 1 day. 0. That was the start. We've just passed the 1-year anniversary. So be patient, keep at it, believe in what you're doing. But like Gretchen, like Jeff, you may have to, quote, pivot and incorporate other forms of instruction and other forms of revenue. But I'm convinced that the clubs like Brick Bodies that know that the instructors in the classes are the secret sauce, because the equipment's all the same, right? They'll be the ones a year, 2 years from now that will be thriving.
I love it. I think everything I hope you guys are appreciating it as much as I am. I think that this pep talk that we're all getting from this panel is what we all need to hear as well, because even though we are the well-being for most of our clients, your well-being is as important to us as anything, because if you're the lead, if you're not doing quite well, guess what? Authenticity is okay. And it's okay to let people know that you're not doing okay as well. If you're sad or whatever's happening, it lets people know that you're human. Okay. How do we redefine healthy without relying solely on physical attribute? And I think that's really essential right now with everything we've gone through. How do we redefine healthy without relying solely on physical attributes? Gretchen?
Sorry, I've been using my keyboard and it's stopped. So I think that was something we've been trying to do for a really long time. And I think it's still kind of in that battle phase. You know, everything that I teach, everything that I talk to people about, it comes down to what's coming out of your mouth and what's going on up here almost every single time. To me, that's just a direct link in everything. And so redefining it really starts from a group perspective, what you're saying. I'm going to say it again. I know I'm feeling I'm on a broken record here, but what we're saying about it, and then what we're doing, because I think sometimes we say all this good stuff, and then what we actually do in our life is very different. So we might say, oh, you're fine. You can do this 30 minutes a day. You'll be fine. You'll be helped. And then we go and kill ourselves in the elliptical for 2 hours and then pump iron. Wow, I'm sorry, I just went back to the 80s for some reason. But like, who says pump iron? Apparently
I felt very comfortable with that terminology.
Great. It was for you, Jeff. It was for you. But it's being really authentic. I think that word's thrown around a lot and kind of cheesy, but truly being an example of health. Saying what we're doing what we're doing, and then also in our own minds, dealing with what's up here. And knowing that we don't have to do that by ourselves. There are people like me. I actually love working with fitness professionals, because I think sometimes they don't get seen enough as someone who needs help with more than just the body. Oh, they're healthy, right? We don't see what's going on up here. So dealing with what's going on up here is going to be an individual process, but you don't have to do it alone. There's lots of people out there who will help you. And if you don't already just have just a plain old mentor, let's start there, right? Let's start with a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, email me. Let's find you one. Where are you? I will probably know someone. I mean, I taught at Texas A&M University, and I have group fitness instructors that have gone everywhere. So I could probably find just somebody.
And before we complete answering this question, in fact, at this point, I would love for my panel to put in how they can get a hold of you. And remember, teachers, and people on this call, asking for help is not a bad thing. Asking for help is really a good thing. And it's a community. That's what Sarah designed these webinars, was to make it be a fitness community that we could actually help one another. Because I know in Louisville, I feel like I'm my soul island. And I love these panels because I'm with experts that are on the same level or have the same theory as I do. But then let's get back to that question. How do you feel, how do we rely healthy without relying solely on physical attribute?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Okay, thanks, Jeff. I'll chime in now. Yes, healthy it can be on a spectrum. I like to think of it as the wheel and the wellness wheel. If you are going to look at the spokes of a wheel and start with 0 in the middle and work toward 10 toward the exterior circumference of the wheel, with different attributes such as aspects of healthy lifestyle choices, sleep, breath, recreation, professionalism, or your work, exercise / movement, And I think that's a big thing. It's just moving is really important as opposed to exercise. People think that there's still this philosophy that it's too much work. Spirituality, nutrition, and there are multiple variations on this wellness wheel theme. But the more we can help folks to shift toward what they consider is their ideal, maybe it's not a 10, maybe it's an 8 or a 9. But where they are today and where they want to see themselves in 6 months, maybe a year, what can they do today or this week to move that needle in every aspect of the wellness wheel toward their ideal?
I love that. Victor, can you top that? Good luck.
I'm not even going to try.
Oh, come
The
on.
one thing, well, the one thing I will say, I'll get back to what you guys said earlier, is that we like to put things in our company in WIM phrases. You know what WIM stands for? World-class, humorous, inspirational, and memorable. World-class, humorous, inspirational, and memorable, WIM. So we put things in WIM so people can remember them. And the concept we have is Kaizen. You know what Kaizen is? It's Japanese for constant, never-ending improvement. And what Lynne's talking about is constant, never-ending improvement, baby steps. It translates technically in Japanese to baby steps. You don't go from a 6 to a 10. You go from a 6 to a 6 1/4, then back to a 6, then maybe a 7, then back to a 5 1/2. And it's always the baby steps. And that's one of the problems with people. They expect immediate gratification, and unfortunately they get it in so many areas. They want it in mental health, they want it in happiness, and they want it in fitness. And in those 3 areas, it's a long process.
I love that. Speaking of which, we're actually running out of time. There is a wellness conference that is free that Lynne and Victor had mentioned, and if you might put that in the chat. There is a free. When is the date? Do we know the dates of it, guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's the
Lynne,
Never.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to say it's the Never Alone Summit and the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation in conjunction with the Chopra Foundation, and is putting together, hosting a summit, 1-day free online summit on Friday, May 21st. It starts at 1 p.m. Eastern time, goes until 8 or 9 p.m. But it's
Lynne, tell them some of the people that are on speaking.
Yeah, I am. But I want to say to register for the free event, it's neveralonesummit.live. And
Good.
so folks
Michael put it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So some of the folks that are speaking, of course, is Deepak Chopra, Russell Brand, Jewel, Dr. Richard Carmona, who's the 17th U.S. Surgeon General, Victor and myself, the Smith brothers, who we already mentioned for the Holistic Life Foundation from Baltimore. There's a astronaut surgeon who works for NASA, and she's speaking as well. We have we brought on Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks NFL player. He's going to be speaking as well. Anyone else I'm missing, babe?
No, well, we could go on, but just a world-class lineup. We hope that you all attend.
I would love for everybody to attend. And so sadly, we're running out of time, but I think that we all need to finish this with that beautiful new word we learned today, which was what? Sabono. Is that right?
Sabono.
Sabono. And so I want to thank my panel for being with me tonight. I want to thank all of you that were listening. I hope you got some information. I hope it made you feel better. And I would love for us all to end it by saying Sabono. Bye, guys. Thank you.
I just want to say there is a South African on here, Ann Heiser, so she should know that word, right, Ann? You know that for sure. Then she goes, Yebo. Yeah.
Yebo. Oh, that's
From
awesome.
South Africa.
All right, guys. Love you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Mental health, guys.